Breaking news, some French want Emmanuel Macron to step down, but you won't believe the reason why. So the former French economy minister was demanding for French President Emmanuel Macron to step down and also advising other people to demand the same. So according to him, Emmanuel Macron is not leading well because some African leaders, some Africans, they have started uniting all because of Emmanuel Macron. And according to him, it's not good for African countries to unite and come together because it's disadvantage for France. And if it's continued like this, it will be the other way around. Now, France will be the one coming to Africa for better future, for livelihood and livestock. And that should not happen. So they are requesting for one country, all these military countries that are leading Mali, Niger, Burkina Faso, one of the leaders to be taken out so that the other leaders can give up and see that there's no benefit. They will never succeed. If one leader fall out, all the other four or the other ones will give up, and some will not even try to beat the president through coup. And hence, advantage for France.
We have some news right now. The U.S. Navy lost a $60 million fighter jet. According to reports, the USS Harry S. Truman aircraft carrier was towing this F-18 Super Hornet fighter jet. And while the Truman made a hard turn to evade Houthi fire, remember, we're currently combating in Yemen with the Houthis, and the fighter jet just fell overboard and was lost at sea. Now, the rebel group claimed to have launched a drone and missile attack on the aircraft carrier, which could have led to this. Now, to put this into perspective, this fighter jet was worth $60 million. We're not going to recover it. And also, the United States has lost at least 7 drones to the Houthis in the past several weeks, costing more than $200 million. So lots of U.S. military equipment being lost or destroyed as a result of what's happening right now in Yemen, our war, essentially a war in Yemen. I'll continue to provide you updates as we get more information. I'll do a full breakdown of all the news you missed on my Substack this evening, so be sure to subscribe for free at the link in my bio and follow along for all the news you need to know about.
And Macron has simply never been able to bring the debt under control. So this hand-picked prime minister, Bayrou, was trying to force the French Assembly's hand into voting for this. Bayrou's strategy was based on the belief that when faced with the stark choice between the government's survival and France's fiscal collapse, pragmatic lawmakers would choose stability over politics. So he had hoped to pressure Parliament into accepting painful but necessary reforms by framing the vote as a choice between fiscal responsibility and a collapsed government. And in one of the most dramatic political acts imaginable, virtually the whole of the Parliament united to destroy this guy. And we're both the far left, the wacky-wokey French left, they joined forces with the National Rally, the MAGA party there, the French First Party there, or France First Party. They all united, came together for one purpose, and it was to get rid of another Macron puppet.
Bro, what the hell is going on in France right now? The reports are saying that over the past few nights, in prisons across the country, they were hit by what officials are calling coordinated attacks. And we're talking like automatic weapons being fired at these prisons. They've got pictures of bullet holes in walls and glass doors. They're blowing up cars and even threatening prison officers at their home. And this is not just like one or two. These are prisons throughout the country in several different cities. The attackers apparently left behind the tag DDPF, and so now that's got France's anti-terror office in on the investigation. Now, the wildest part about this is that authorities believe that these are intimidation attempts, these attacks, and apparently they're in response to a recent government crackdown on what officials are calling a tsunami of cocaine entering France right now. But gangs, well, what we believe to be gangs, retaliating like this, that's like some cartel level stuff. Absolutely wild. I'll keep you guys updated.
Paris is burning tonight. The so-called Block Everything movement has spilled into the streets, and they mean it literally. Bins are on fire, buildings are torched, police are battling rioters, and traffic across the capital is paralysed. This isn't polite protest. This is France doing what France does best when it's had enough: shutting the country down and lighting a match. And what sparked this chaos? Macron's government again. Another prime minister shuffled in, austerity cuts biting into schools, hospitals and public services, and a population that feels ignored and ripped off. People aren't just angry anymore, they're done, and tonight they're showing it. Roads blocked, train stations targeted, police flooding Paris in their thousands. but still the fires spread. This is what happens when the elite keep rearranging the deck chairs while the ship sinks. Ordinary people flip the table. France has always had a flair for revolution, but what's happening right now is a warning shot. This isn't a protest, it's a wake-up call. And looking at Paris tonight, the only safe bet is that it's going to get worse, much worse, before it gets better. Vive la France!
What's happening in France? Emmanuel Macron is about to step down. Why? My name is Luc. In today's video, we are going to talk about why Macron is forced to resign because he failed, to help France to keep steal mineral from Africa. We got a more video like this. Let's watch it. I will come back with a comment. Remember that credit goes to the owner of the video. Please subscribe. Let's do this.
Was Africa, Niger, Burkina Faso, Mali. Now that Africa has stood up to the West with a firm hand and a firm grip and has taken their country back, oh, France, you want to negotiate a fair price? We'll think about it. They have put themselves in the driver's seat. Supply and demand. Africa's got the supply. And in France, electricity is the demand. Here comes Africa.
There are dozens of African countries where France is printing a currency of its own, the France of the colonies, and with that currency, French debt is financed. If France didn't have African colonies, which it's impoverishing, it would be the 15th world economic power, and instead it's amongst the leading ones because of what it's doing in Africa.
So before anybody gets ahead of themselves here, we have to wonder what Africa is thinking right now as far as how they're going to sell off the resources and when they're going to sell off their resources, or if they are going to sell the resources once again to France, or is France going to have to go ahead and suffer the circumstances that Africa has put on? It's sort of like a sanction from a more poverty-known country, which is now becoming a more favorable country in the world. And how is Africa going to play this out? Well, one of the major factors that you would have to consider is the supply is how much and the demand is how much. You want to get that demand up as high as you possibly can. Is French right now in a position of demand where they've never seen before? Let's go ahead and go over that Washington Post article that says they're basically on DEFCON 4. The article reads as such. French President Emmanuel Macron named François Bayrou, centrist, as prime minister on Friday in a bid to restore stability after a non-confidence vote. Non-confidence vote toppled the shortest-serving government in modern French Republic. That's horrible news for Macron and for France in general. The new prime minister must now try to cobble together a government and get a handle on France's spiraling deficit and debt burden in a way that satisfies enough of the warring political factions to keep everything from crashing down again. European allies are looking for France and neighboring Germany also in a political and financial turmoil, because Germany is affected as well by the fuel from Russia, for one being the pipeline, and the war in Ukraine, as well as the African kicking out France and not being able to reap their harvest on the resources of Africa. To get their affairs in order at a time when a President-elect Donald Trump is threatening to launch a trade war and pivot the U.S. position on Russia's war in Ukraine. So there's Donald Trump as well jumping in and putting more pressure on France and in Ukraine to stop the war. And we all know that President Trump is no big fan of France. So France is in a bind now between a lot of the countries in Africa and America. So this is a really crucial time for France to start making a deal. The price can go up. The price is right now probably a good time to sell. I'm just saying, but with faith and patience, you inherit the promise. So patience is a good thing. No one knows the difficulty of the situation better than I do, Bayrou said during a red carpet ceremony for the transition of power at the Prime Minister's official residence. He acknowledged the extent of the challenges that lie ahead, called for reconciliation of acrimonious divisions, and described curbing debts as not only financial priority, but a moral issue. Facing backlash over the political turmoil, Macron has called on the country's fractious parties to make compromises in the national interest. France has alternated through periods of political chaos and paralysis since June, when Macron announced early legislative elections. But the election resulted in a bitterly divided legislature, and the government that took office in September was threatened with a collapse at any moment, its fate ultimately resting in the hands of the far-right leader Marine Le Pen. So here's Macron again, a far-left Democrat socialist that just wants to, enslave. But now he's facing backlash as the country is going more into a right-wing conservative family value tradition. And now he's stumped. Now he's dug himself in a hole that he just can't get out of, with both Africa now and America coming in and saying, we're not really willing to deal with you guys much anymore. So I think we're going to have to see a level playing field take place very soon, or France can say goodbye to all of their hype and glory that they've vested in for the last 300 years, which it's a new day. It's a new day for the world. It's a great day for Africa. And it's also opening a new playbook for Africa in how they're about to deal with the West.
It's a new day for Africa and to Africans. France is no more in Africa. Did you dream about that? Do you have a dream about that? The day we wake up, found out France is no longer in Africa. I had that dream too. But it will take time. But we have seen many African presidents who decide to kick them out. However, even the USA is putting pressure on France. So that's why many people from France are forcing their president to resign, because he failed to keep, distract the unity of African president. Because when the African presidents are united, there is no more France in Africa. So we still have another one. Let's watch them. I'll come back with a comment.
Is the French political establishment about to collapse completely? And will that be followed by their economy? I don't know, but it's definitely in trouble. So I don't know if you've seen this, but yesterday France lost another prime minister and their parliament collapsed yet again. They had a vote of no confidence in the current prime minister. He had been trying to push through budget measures and budget cuts because their economy is in such a lot of trouble. And he lost a vote of confidence, overwhelmingly lost a vote of confidence, because all of the other major parties voted against him. On top of that, they've now called, or many of the unions and the other parties have called, a national strike tomorrow, which is going to bring the country to an absolute standstill. And President Macron is under a huge amount of pressure. Emmanuel Macron, although this doesn't directly affect his standing as president, the fact that he has named 3 different prime ministers and they've all gone within the last year is starting to show him up, starting to put him under pressure, starting to make his position much more difficult. And many of the other parties are calling for him to stand down, or him to resign, or for him to call early elections. I don't believe the next French presidential elections are due to be heard for a couple of years, until mid-27, I think it is, 2027. But as I say, the pressure is increasing. Why is it happening? Well, it's happening because the French economy is slowly falling apart. Their GDP, or debt to GDP ratio, is the highest, or certainly one of the highest in the entire Western world, and certainly one of the highest of all of the leading nations and the G7 nations. I think it's about 113, 114%. And what's making that worse is, although you've always had high debt to GDP ratios, their productivity, their output, their growth has always been reasonably good. Now that's starting to fall apart as well. What that's doing is it's creating a load of pressure in the markets. The markets are losing confidence in the government. The borrowing costs are going up, and they're in a bit of a doom loop, a death spiral, very similar to what seems to be happening in the UK. And so they can't sustain the parliament, they can't sustain the prime minister that Macron backs, they can't sustain any sort of a centrist leadership. And so you're seeing the far left and the right wing under Marine Le Pen particularly gaining ground. When you throw into the mix things like crime, immigration, etc., then those parties are gaining ground very fast, and the pressure is on. What's going to happen now? We don't know. Macron will probably try to name another prime minister, try to cobble together another government. Whether he'll be able to do that or not, nobody really knows. So France is in a real state of flux. It's really in trouble. it's replicating to some extent what's happening right across the Western world and the Western governments. You've got similar situations starting to come about in Germany. You've certainly got similar situations in this country. Giorgia Meloni seems to have stabilised things in Italy, and funnily enough, she's more on the right wing of politics than is a populist. And her policies and what she's done in Italy have proven to be pretty popular. Netherlands has just had a government collapse as well. The Swedes and the Danes are having to bring in more sort of right-of-centre politics and policies because their own populations and their own electorate were so unhappy with what was going on. The whole continent, the whole of Europe, the whole of the Western world is moving in one direction, and it's away from people like Macron. It's away from people like Friedrich Merz. It's away from people like Keir Starmer. They're on the wrong side of history, and France could be the one about to lead it all.
Rally, the MAGA party there, the French First Party there, or France First Party, they all united, came together for one purpose, and it was to get rid of another Macron puppet. And so in this decisive vote, the French National Assembly overwhelmingly rejected Bayrou in the confidence motion, and now France is without a functioning government. They have to have a seated prime minister to do anything. And Macron does not have a lot of choices here. He can try to find a fifth prime minister in just 2 years, right? They either get rejected outright or they get rejected within months. And no matter who he picks, the makeup right now as we speak, the partisan makeup of the French parliament isn't going to change. And the irony is that Macron only has himself to blame for that current partisan makeup. Remember, when they had their national elections last summer, a year ago, the France First Party, National Rally, was supposed to win in a blowout. All the polls showed that National Rally was in the lead among all the various parties running. But then Macron got 200 of his assemblymen from his party to back out and endorse the candidate from the far left New Popular Front. And this is just a coalition of far left Marxist socialists, basically. But Macron recognized that his candidates from his party were only stealing votes from those far left candidates, and that split, that divide and conquer ended up empowering National Rally. So Macron sabotaged National Rally. They still did amazing. They got their best results ever last summer. They stormed Parliament for sure, but they fell short, far short of where they should have come in. And they certainly didn't come in first. New Popular Front came in first, slightly. Because they basically got combined with Macron's party when all is said and done. But they didn't get a majority either. So you got a hung parliament. You got a dysfunctional parliament. There is no outright majority. And again, there should have been. All the polls showed that National Rally would be the majority party in parliament. But because of Macron's sabotage, now he's stuck with a dysfunctional parliament that can't pass anything and isn't satisfied with any prime minister that Macron nominates because both National Rally and the New Popular Front hate Macron. That was the devil's bargain last summer that Macron took up. Both the far left and the populist right hated his guts. But because he's a globalist, who did he go with? Of course, he went with the far left.
Can he get prime minister for just 2 years? Or he's going to resign as well? This is what people expect, because Macron used to abuse African leader, especially saying about some countries, say you are not able to rule your country because France has to help you guys so that you can be able to to maintain your power in your country, in Africa. But what he wished to be in Africa, now it's happening to his country. He cannot even control terrorists in Paris, people starting attacking prison. Because what I think, they focus on African minerals. They forget about to maintain what has been stolen even 100 years ago. That is enough. I love the way Africans are saying in my comments, say, enough is enough. You could have, again, appreciate what you get, not focusing on Africa until you forget to rule your country. I still have another one about Niger and France. Let's watch it. I'll come back with a comment.
my goodness. France is in a mess. It's going down. Economy is going down. Everything is not working out fine for France. France lost over 4 billion France and US dollars to Niger. This is serious. All right, welcome again, ladies and gentlemen. France is furious. Niger and France uranium dispute. Who truly owns Africans' resources? The president of Niger, Tiachani, ends 50 years of uranium theft in Niger. That is a big one. 50 years of exploitation, of theft, of unfair deal.
All right.
Ended in Niger. Troops sent back, equipment. You know what happens? So France is furious. Not only is France losing in Burkina Faso, in Niger is a big one. Remember, Burkina Faso, France used to give them about 1 billion for their gold and all of that. But within the time space that President Traoré come into power, they have made multiple of billions of dollars, about 18 billions of dollars, right? But today, I want us to focus on Niger. Africa and Africans, we don't know our power. Most people that grow up in Africa don't actually know the potential and the capability of Africa as a continent. For 50 years, France has this company called Urano. It's a nuclear power company exploiting Niger. If you go to Niger, the people are poor. It's one of the poorest countries on the planet Earth. But Niger is among the top uranium producers globally. You can't believe this. Many people in the country may not even have a clue understanding. And that is why we need a unified vision. And we need to teach Africans, sons and daughters, Africa. We need to teach our sons and daughters Africa. That means we need to know our resources. We need to know our power. We need to know what is on ground. And that is why human capital investment is my focus. We need to invest more in human development. France Urano, formerly Areva, has operated in Niger for over 50 years. How many Nigerians know about this operation? Imuranian mine, one of the world's largest uranium deposits, is in Niger. Operations delayed due to low uranium process post Fukushima in 2011. Don't know if I pronounced that right. But recent development, there is a license revocation and then legal action taken by the France company. Can you imagine that? You came to somebody's country, they stop you, that we don't want this deal anymore. We don't want you to keep exploiting us anymore. You take illegal action. It's amazing how this guy sees Africans. And it's because we've not been able to raise ourselves and build quality leadership. The value that we hold and how we take ourselves and carry ourselves before the world is what is causing all these people to do whatever they are doing to Africans. In June 2024, Niger revoked Urano's license for Imurian projects. And that is the uranium site. In December 2024, Niger seized and halted their exports Do you believe that France exports about 3.5 billion and like 4 billion USD from Niger every single year, but turn around to pay Niger about 400 million? See an embarrassment.
Oh no.
Why France is succeeding and the people are living in affluence and luxury, Niger people are going through poverty, untold poverty. Why France is enjoying abundance, Niger is enjoying poverty and penury and pain, and they call Africa poor. How poor are we that a region, a section of Africa is generating over 3.4 billion for France? And that is just on one side. And then you turn around to give on what we call the royalty of 3%. The same thing is being exported from Canada at 18 to 20%. So what's actually the difference between the Canadian uranium and African uranium? It is the value they see in the people. And when Niger says we have to increase this to at least close to 10 to 12%, they say no, it has to be 3%. All African country, everything exported from Africa is between 2 to 3%. Very unfair deal. It is time for Africa to wake up. We are not poor as narrated by the West. Africans, and Africa is not a poor continent. The sons and daughters of Africa, it is time for every single one of us to understand that Africa is not a poor continent, but is a continent that is being exploited and drained by the West. Orano filed a lawsuit against Niger for property confiscations and detaining of personnel.
Oh yeah.
How much was so Niger only called for fair agreements, but France refuses because they don't want Africans to live in a soft life. We need to end all this right now. We need to end it. The time is now. The time is now. We have to do it. And this reflects the broader perspective of how Africans and Africa is seen in the global scene. If you love Africa, I want you to spread this message. We must end theft and exploitation in Africa. Thank you, the president of Niger. Thank you for that move. That is a great move. That's a great move from Tishiani. Captain Tishiani is a great move. And congratulations to Nigerians. Thank you for this powerful move. Now, you need to support your leadership. And we need to build strong leadership. Raise men and women that will be able to hold things together. Share this news. Make your comment in the comment section as civilized as possible. Make it plain. Express yourself. Let's make Africa the best continent on the planet Earth. No matter where you came from, as long as you're an African, you have the blood flowing through you, it is time to be patriotic in our thinking, in our action, in our relationship, in everything that we do. Think Africa first. Will this benefit Africa? If it doesn't, throw it through the window. It is time to fix our continent. France, goodbye. Goodbye to you. We don't want anything to do with you anymore. Enough is enough. Type it in the comment section. enough is enough.
We need to end this. The time is now. Enough is enough. African, wake up. Can't you see that those Western countries are not ready to support you? Unless you support yourself. Value yourself. At least you can see other countries selling the same natural resource at the same price. But what you care is about just getting money from Europe is enough. I hope you liked this video. Thank you for watching my video. Share, comment, see you on another one. Please don't forget to subscribe. I love you guys.